Good to see you all today in this cold, I think, Sunday morning. Cold, as I'm saying cold in air quotes, because I think if I would be in Germany right now, soon enough it will be much colder than this. So still I can go out in the morning from the Sanghavasa, and I don't have to wear a pullover. I just wear a robe. Not even I have to close it like this, and I can be okay. And I think that's nearly the coldest it gets so far what I have seen here in Sri Lanka. I mean, at least the place where we are living, close to Ingiriya, it's never much colder than this. Maybe I think in other places it is actually colder than that. So I think when it comes to the heat, when it comes to the weather, there's no reason to complain at all. That's why so many people from my country like to come here and visit and spend here for a holiday, to relax from their stress of work, especially in the winter times. Around December, people like to be here. It's warm, and they like to see tropical rainforest, different kinds of animals, different kinds of food, different kinds of trees, and different kinds of activities. Yesterday I had a chance to go to Anuradhapura, which is actually the second time I have been able to go, and it was because of the occasion of we were invited for a dana. So in our monastery, once every year, the family of a monk can invite the monk and some monks from the monastery to come for a dana at their house. So one of our monks has invited me to come along and experience this event. So we went to his village and we experienced the full package, and it was a really great experience. Very devoted people. I think half of the village came at the end to offer dana, to be there and celebrate the Buddha Puja. And we even had the chance to go and visit the sacred sites, the Veli Mahasaya and Sri Mahabodhi, and we walked around there as well. So it was the second time that I had the chance to go there, and I was reminded of my first time when I went. And the first time that I went there was 2 years ago, when I just came to Sri Lanka with my brother at that time. At that time I came to Sri Lanka to come to the monastery, because I had listened to the sermons of this monastery for nearly 2 years, and I had started to teach German to some of the monks online. So I became the German teacher of the monastery. I was never a language teacher per se. I never did that because of my want. I mean, I never liked to do that particularly, but since I liked teaching and since I wanted to gain some merits, I started to use the opportunity and teach German to some of the monks, because I saw the value in these teachings and I wanted to support that. So I did that, and when I came here, I was really not sure what's going to happen in my life. At that time, I told my parents, Mom, Father, I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay away. It might be for a holiday, it might be for 2-3 months. I came in June, and that's the holiday season in Germany, so they were expecting to have me back in August. But I knew that it might not happen. if I like it, I might stay, and actually I might become an anagarika. It's like the young gentleman who always comes with me every week, he's an anagarika. Right? So he has gone forth to join the sasana for a year as a layperson living with us in the monastery, and nearly following the same routine like we as monks do, waking up in the morning, same time, 4 o'clock, discussing the doctrine, joining the ceremony, Buddha Puja, having programs, meditating, and then merit works, that means work that we do to maintain the monastery, to improve our services, to make the Dhamma available to more people. Right? That's what we work really hard for. So that's what happened to me in the end. When I came to the monastery, I decided to become an anagarika, and then of course, when you decide that, then you also decide to become a monk after a year. That should be your goal. Otherwise, you can't become an anagarika. It was a bit unfortunate for my parents because they just had seen me come back from 1 or 2 years of staying abroad in another country, which had been over the Corona times. So they were really happy to see me back. And I think a little bit I talked about this before. So they were really happy to see me back. And then they had to say goodbye to me after some time already again. So when I came to that sacred sites in Anuradhapur, I had a strong devotion for the Buddha and for the teachings. Something that already happened in my life until that point. That was a point when I listened to sermons for nearly 2 years. And until that time, and as you might know, I was never somebody I was not brought up in a Buddhist environment. My parents never taught me any of the rituals about who the Buddha was or what he taught, because they didn't know anything about that as well. So I was brought in a Christian environment, and people taught me about Jesus. So I know a fair bit about him as well, but I didn't know much about the Buddha. So it was only through listening to the sermons and understanding bit by bit about the logic of happiness and the way that the Buddha looks on this world, that I had started to develop some sort of faith and devotion and respect for the Buddha. When I came to the pagoda that time, I already intuitively did what I think most people do when they go there, and which is the great thing that you can do when you do that, when you are there, which is to do a determination, right? Or we call it as adhisthana in Pali and Sinhala. Because determinations are really powerful. A determination or a strong wish, a strong resolve, something that can shape the course of your life and even beyond this one life in a powerful way. If you do it in the right mindset, and if you do it in the right occasion. Some people also do the opposite. Some people curse. You can also curse, and such a curse can also be your curse for a long time. If you curse others, if you really wish them bad, if you really wish them to suffer, that can be your curse. I mean, these things will be able to haunt you for a long time, can do. Because the mind is an energy source. Whatever the intention that we radiate out is energy that we radiate out, and this energy can easily come back to us if the environment is right. So it can bring us along in the right direction, or it can hinder our path very easily. Right? That's why we always have to be so mindful about the intentions with which we think about others, and what we wish for them, and what we wish for ourselves. Right? Because unbeknown to us, without us knowing it or feeling it, we are creating karma all the time, and we can't even stop that. Right? That's because of what happens in our mind. And this karma will shape our future. Right? So who we are today is who we have, is the things we have thought, is the minds. What we have today is what we have thought in the past. The mindset we had. The fact that we receive a loving environment today, loving people, which I'm sure you all have. You have many people who care about you, who make sure that when you are not feeling well, then they help you, lift you up. And you had many teachers in your lives, you had guidance, and you had company, and you can see yourself in these actions. You can see who you had been for you to deserve this today. Because we don't just get things for free, right? You have deserved these things for certain things you have done. For this you get the payback. But it doesn't mean that this will be something that you get just because you are you, and you are special compared to others. We get the reward for what we have done, not for who we are. Right? Therefore, everyone is the same. Only thing that matters is the actions that we do. So, which means we are very empowered. We have within ourselves the chance to shape our future. You don't have to be a victim of your life, or the environment, or the society, or your partner, or your friend, or whoever the people around you. You might sometimes think that they can control your happiness. It is because of them you can never really be happy, because of how they treat you, or what they think about you. Or because there's maybe you want to be a musician, or you want to be a singer, but maybe in this country nobody likes to listen to you. Nobody's interested in what you want to express, in what you want to sing about. So now you feel that the whole society has now controlled you, because since they are not interested in you, you can't be happy. But don't worry about that. This is not actually how it really is. You always need to think about what the mindset that you can improve. So if others are not interested in you, well, you have to accept that. But happiness is not something that others take away from us. Right? If we haven't shown interest in others, do you think that they will show interest in us? No, right? So if people are not interested in us, then that's because that's what we have given. And we have to see that this is now the result. If we want others to be interested in us, if we want others to follow us, or if we want others to simply care about us, then that's what we have to give. It's as simple as that. Right? If you see our Guru Theru and our great monks from the monastery, or for that matter anyone who has influence in this world, it is being said that, for example, for people to follow you and listen to you, and I'm sure we all know many examples of people who are like that. Guru Theru is one person in our monastery. Many people follow him. We have good and bad examples. We have great leaders who have done a lot of good and bad, and people followed them. For them to be able to have that influence, they must have, and somehow, they must have supported at least the people. They must have supported these people. Right? They must have given something for them to be in the state of being able to lead others. Right? So it's usually because of something good we have given, we get this chance. But what we do with that is another thing. Right? Once we are in power, we can abuse power, we can use power. It depends on our intentions. Right? So we have given this human life because of something good. But do you think everyone who's living a human life is a good person? No. Because here we are talking about minds. Right? A mind is something that can change really quickly. Depending on the situation, depending on the views, depending on the environment, a mind can have a good intention very easily. And if the association changes, and if problems are there, a mind can have very bad intentions also. It can change really quickly, right? So that's why there's no such thing called a good or a bad person in this world. We all have had many moments when we feel we are really good, and then there are also moments when we are not so good. Sometimes we are angry, we curse others, and sometimes we regret it really quickly. Sometimes, who knows, sometimes we even curse the people who are so close to us. Maybe our parents, maybe our children. Maybe not verbally, but sometimes mentally. When our mind is annoyed, then that's all that that's all that matters to us in this moment, and we feel like that. And that's totally fine, right? For now, that's totally fine. There's no reason to get upset about this. But I hope that by coming to these sermons and by associating the wisdom of the Buddha and the community of noble friends, not just here, but also if you ever have a chance to come to the monastery, then your views and your mindset will change into another side. The first thing that should happen is that you should become a good person. I mean, as in, the goodness within you should increase. There was always goodness within you. I'm very sure about that, otherwise you would never come here. But the goodness will increase without you having to do anything much. Right? And then you give goodness to the others. You give more goodness. And as you give more goodness, you have more goodness. You can never lose it by giving it. You always get more of it back. And then one day, you will not only have goodness within you, but then you will also have what we call nobleness. Nobleness is what happens to you when you start understanding the Dhamma. When you start understanding that pleasure is not something you can find in this world, that there's nothing in the world that has any, what we call pleasure, happiness. That pleasure is only a fabrication of our mind. It's only a process in our mind, a process of release of vexation. That is one door towards understanding something deeper about life that remains hidden to most people in this world, even to the good people. Even good people, even a mind which is good, does not always have to be wise. It is good, but you can be good and wise and good and not wise, which means still ignorant. Ignorant about something deeper, a deeper truth about life. Right? So, when I came to this Nibbāna Mahasaya 2 years ago, I was talking about this trip that I had yesterday. When I came there 2 years ago, I made a determination at that time to serve my life I couldn't express it in these words at that time because I didn't know what is the sasana. I didn't know what does it mean. But something like to serve my life to the goal of bringing salvation to all sentient beings. Because at that time I already understood that wherever I look, I find only a vexed mind. Vexed mind is all I can find anywhere, including here. Yesterday we walked around and there was a man who was selling flowers. Flowers for the people to offer to the Buddhist statues or to the relics. So he was there all day. He was there in one of the most holy places, we can say, which exist in this world, which has a long story. And on this grass, on these stones, once upon a time, people walked this earth who were not normal people. These were arahants. These were the great arahants of the past, which is, the most sacred heritage that this country has. I can't say that Germany has a history like that. What can our country be proud of? Yes, we can be. There's always one topic we always discuss when it comes to the history of Germany. Okay, fine. That thing already sorted out. Nothing to be ashamed about anymore. That was a bad thing. But however, we found a car. How to build a car? Good, great invention. Nice. Technological improvements, that's something Germany can be proud of. But ultimately all of these things were done by people who suffered, right? Who were not fully happy. But in this country, we had people who achieved something remarkable. In this journey of samsara, we have all been scientists many times. And so many things we have achieved. If you would be able to look back, we would see that. But arahanthood, we have never achieved that. So, this man was selling flowers. Do you think he earned much merit from doing that? I can't say, because I can't look into his mind, right? Maybe he did. Maybe for every flowers that he gave to someone, he was thinking to himself, this person is able to offer the flowers to the Lord Buddha, and he will be able to find one moment of peace in his troublesome life, and he will find hope and refuge in the Buddha and maybe in the wisdom that he had, and he will cultivate his mind, and may he also become a Buddha one day. Buddha means not Sammasam Buddha, but an enlightened person, an enlightened mind. Yes, maybe this vendor was thinking it to himself, and that would be a great thing. Because actually, what he has around him is more than enough to find happiness. It's all about the mindset. But if that mindset is not there, you can sell flowers and you think that you're living the most miserable of lives. That you should be in an office right now, that you should be in another country right now, that you should be somewhere else and doing something else. But you don't see the greatness that life has given to you. You don't see the beauty of this place. Fair enough. Of course, we as visitors, when we go there, we feel good because we go there only once a year or something like that. If we were to spend there every day, it would be a different story, I'm sure, right? We would not enjoy this as much as spending our visit. Because our mind gets used to everything. And once it's getting used to things, it's easy to lose focus of the value of the thing that you have. And our mind gets busy seeing what it doesn't have. and the vexation builds up for these things. So we must never let that happen. And that's why we always need to constantly remind us about the value of what we have and appreciating that and expressing the appreciation to others and to ourselves so that our mind keeps being full of this appreciation, full of this gratefulness. Right? So this man gave many people a chance to earn merits, because everyone who offered these flowers, didn't they do merits? Yes, they did. Because they offered these flowers with some sort of respect. Respect for a person, I think most of us, we believe Buddha is a person. That's the first step that we take. That's okay. No. There's another deeper layer as well, but from the beginning, Buddha is a great person to us, who had great qualities. That means when people offer these flowers, then they want to connect to some nobler way of living, to some sort of, at least to get help, to ask for help from this teacher. And if you see, this energy will take you towards the Dhamma and towards the Nibbāna, little by little. It might take many lives, but it will do. You will find what the Buddha taught. You will find what he asked us to do, and you will do that. And so the journey continues. So all of the people who offered these flowers, they earned merits. And I think that if at the end of their lives, if whoever the angels, the devas, whoever are taking stock of all their actions, looking at the good things and the bad things, then these kind of pilgrimages will be one of the best things that they have done. Because how much merits do you earn by raising your family? As much time as we spend on this, the merits are really limited, because it is something we do with a sense of belonging, with a feeling that this is something that belongs to me. Right? So therefore, it's not something we do completely selflessly. So I can't say that it is something we have to do, it's our duty. That's also important. And depending on what we do and how we do it, merits can be there. But generally speaking, that is not something, Jesus said it really nicely in the Bible. He said, loving the one who are dear to you is not something really special, because even everyone can do that. Not everyone, most can do. But heaven or Nibbāna, for that matter, are not something that most people go to. Jesus said that, and the Buddha said the same. If you look at the scriptures, you will find rare are the individuals who are able to go to heaven, and even more rare are the ones who can go to Nibbāna. So that is where we want to go. That is where I want you to aspire to, little by little. I want you to start having a confidence in yourself that you can actually achieve that. And I will guide you, we will guide you, the Mahasangha will guide you, that you can do this. And all you need to do is follow step by step. But you need to do it, but it is possible, definitely. With the right teachers, with the right environment, everything is possible for a mind, right? All we really need to do is have the right associations. That's what we have always lost, always didn't have. When you look into the scriptures, you will see the people who came to the Buddha, they were not extremely smart or extremely rich. Sometimes they were beggars. Sometimes they were just ordinary mothers, fathers, people who clean the streets. They are not in any way more special than we all are, just normal people. Good in their hearts, yes, they were good in their hearts. But aren't we also good in our hearts? Yes, we are, right? So the only thing that happened with them is, yes, they had merits. So this is what we all need to do. We need to have merits. We need to do merits as much as we can. And then we need to associate the right people. That's why the people who come to our monastery, they are not anything different from you, from the people who are walking, or from the people who are walking on the streets. From all of us. We are just normal people. I am also like that. I was a normal person and I'm still a normal person. But what happens to us is, when we associate the right environment, our minds start to become the environment, right? So when you're living in Spain, do you think it's hard to learn Spanish when you're in Spain? No. Even if you don't want to learn Spanish while you're in Spain, you will be able to learn it, right? It's something that will happen automatically. You don't have to do anything about that, as long as you associate the right environment. So, can we say it is hard then to learn Spanish? No. All you really need to do is, you need to bring yourself in the right environment and it will happen. And for the Dhamma it's the same. For Nibbāna it's the same. All you really need to do is bring yourself in the right environment and see people act. See the people who act with the drive to attain Nibbāna. So even among here, you will see each other. You will see others who, with a strong sense of devotion, have committed themselves towards the goal. And little by little, and that's what happens at the monastery as well, we learn from others. We learn the small things. Yes, by sermons you can learn from me as well. And whatever I have been able to inculcate within myself, I can share that with you if I think that it will be helpful to you at this moment. Sometimes some of the things they might not be helpful to you at this moment, and some of the things I am not the right one to teach you yet, because I myself am lacking these things. Right? That's how it works. By sharing with you, you can benefit from that. You can share with others as well, and by giving, we get back. So right now, today, you can consider this as your the payday. That means all the hard work of the week and your effort to share goodness and kindness and respect and forgiveness to the people around you will be rewarded, hopefully, by some peace of mind, first of all, by the chance to gain a lot of merits and to gain more understanding about your life and how you should live your life. So the change will be gradual. It will not happen overnight, but if you look back over a period of few months, you should be able to see how things changed in your lives. That's how it happened for me. It's still happening for me like that. And now, when I was yesterday in I could see I did that determination 2 years ago, and what has happened to me now? Well, it's a long journey, but it's going in the right direction, I think. And most of all, so when I was there yesterday, I made the same determination again. In our monastery, we always push to think in this way. As an anagarika also, serving our lives, sacrificing this one life to the Sambandha Sasana. So that means this mind and this body, which we normally use to fulfill myself, to fulfilling all the dreams I have in my mind, right? What are the dreams that I used to have? Maybe having a family, maybe visiting every country in this world, 200 and something countries, having seen all of them, and finding out new knowledge about science, recently I talked to someone, his goal in life is to cure all cancer in the world. I mean, isn't it a good goal? It's a really nice goal. It's a goal that helps humanity. So, but still, that's a goal that we have as well for becoming someone, for me to become someone. Right? So, this mind and this body, we like to use it for pleasure. Right? This body is here for what? For me to enjoy. So, I'm using this body to fulfill myself with what I can do with this body. It could be touching things, people or things. It could be tasting things, smelling things. That's what we like to use this body for. But when we go into this noble life, in this monastic life, or basically, you don't have to be a monastic to live this life. It's only an attitude change. The change of attitude is, now I'm renouncing this body and mind and no longer using this for pleasure, but I'm using it now. I'm offering it for the nature to make use of it where it is most necessary. For example, where there's a necessity to heal. Right? The Sambuddhasasana is nothing more than a place or an institution in nature, we can say. It's a mechanism of nature to heal itself. Something like that. We will go into the deeper layers of that later, but nature is everywhere, right? You and me, we are all nature. You have a body, you have a mind. What is a hospital? A hospital is a place where when your body is sick, that's a mechanism of society that helps to heal your body. A hospital. And a monastery, or better to say, Sambuddhasasana is something like, it is a mechanism of consciousness, and a mechanism of nature and consciousness to heal itself. This is where consciousness can get healed, right? Where our minds find rest. This is why our monastery, the slogan of our monastery is healing hearts and mending minds. So we recognize that not just Buddhists, not just Christians, not just men, women, Sri Lankans or Germans have problems. This is a problem of the mind. And that is the problem that the Buddha tries to address, or that the Sasana tries to address. The problem that the mind has. Not the problem that women have, or the problem that men have, or the problems that Germans have. Right? So, for example, there's an organization in this world which cares about children's rights. So making sure that children have their rights and that they can live, that children can live happily having these rights. That's an organization for that. It's called UNICEF. Right? So they are standing for children and they are helping children. It is a good help, but that help is very limited, right? Because once a child grows up, it's no longer a child, and it will have new problems, different problems will come. And then you need to have, you need more help. I mean, the problems never stop. Right? So children have problems, adults have problems, and it never stops. It only stops when you... I talked about this last week, right? I talked about why problems never stop in our lives and what's the root cause of this, right? I will give you a brief summary of this now because it will help you to understand what exactly I mean. When a child has a problem, what could be a problem? For example, let's say a child grows up in a family where the mother and father, they mistreat the child. For example, the child doesn't receive any attention, it doesn't receive any love, it doesn't receive any affection. Sometimes even maybe physical violence is there. That's what happens to the child. What would UNICEF do in this situation? And it is a good thing. What would they do? And what is the problem that they recognize with the situation? What does the child feel? What the problem is? My parents don't care about me. This is the problem that the child feels, right? I'm going to write this down. What would UNICEF do in this situation? They would try to either change the parents or bring the child to another set of parents, maybe to give them some foster care, change the parents, so bring it to another family. That could be some of the solutions, right? So let us analyze this problem now with the Dhamma very simply. The child thinks my problems are what my parents do to me and what they don't do to me. The reason why I'm suffering, the reason why I'm not happy is that. How can we translate this to the Dhamma? We have to see it like this. Our mind always likes to believe the problem is I don't have what I want. It's not having something, right? So this child in this case, or this mind in this case, thinks the problem is I don't have care. I don't get care from my parents, that's my problem. Yeah, therefore, the mundane solution is make sure this child gets care. Okay? And if this child is lucky, and if UNICEF or the organization have helped this child can grow up with good parents and gets loved and everything is fine. But someday later in life, so it will have to go to the same problem again. Maybe when this child is later married, maybe the husband or the wife doesn't love. Maybe there's bullying happening in school. Maybe there are problems with the parents later on. So that means this problem can come anytime later again. And as we have discussed last week as well, doesn't this child always live in fear of losing that? So even if you give this child the care, doesn't this child always have fear to lose love? What if my parents stop loving me? What if they will do this? What if my parents are gone? What if my parents die? Then who will take care of me then? Right? So who can take away the fear from this child? Can UNICEF take away the fear? No, can't take. So the child has to live with the fear, even though we have provided care. Right? So actually, by giving what we don't have, can we solve the problem? No, we can't solve it. Then what's the supramundane solution? What is the solution when we follow the Four Noble Truths? It's to recognize that the problem is not the not having of something, but the problem is the wanting of something. Right? So the problem here is actually not the fact that the parents don't provide care. The reason why this child suffers, or actually this mind suffers, is because it wants care. So, once you recognize, now this is a very delicate subject, because some people might misunderstand that what I'm trying to say is that, oh, this poor child, it shouldn't complain, it should accept, we should never become heartless. Contemplating on anicca dukkha anatta, then we have gotten it in the wrong way, right? This is not for us to be heartless or insensitive towards anyone, right? Or look at him, the problem is his wanting, and because the thing is, this child is helpless, or a mind is usually helpless to solve this problem if it doesn't know the Dhamma, if it doesn't understand, right? So we need to understand this is a mind, and it suffers because it doesn't get what it wants. So most of the times, we need to be sensitive about that and give it. Nevertheless, so care should be there, right? Care is important. You should always give care to your children. If you have children, for example, sometimes they might feel these kind of things. And you should never go and tell them, the problem is you're wanting, and just get over it or something like that, because that will not work. So the care has to be given, but somehow, little by little, we need to recognize that the real problem is not solved in this way. It cannot be solved in this way. The real problem has to be addressed by giving the Dhamma, by explaining the child someday, somehow, that the real problem it has is within itself. It's this wanting, right? If the child never learns about this problem, that it has this problem, it will destroy its life. Mostly, have you learned about this problem, that this is your problem, when you were a child? No. Before you come to the Buddhist teaching, no one ever tells you that this is the problem you have, and that you're walking with a virus in your that there's a virus within you that has always been there with you. Therefore, you never try to address that. That's why when you look at the people around the streets, they are all jolly and good and thinking about all the kind of things that they like to do in their lives. They don't realize that they have AIDS, we can say. They have a virus. They should run to the hospital. Why are they spending their time buying new clothes? Not that it is wrong to do that. But if they would know that they have a cancer since they are born, they wouldn't waste their time so easily. Then they would try to come out of this disease, at least as much as they can, given the time that they have. But most people not even know that they have this disease, and this is the worst thing. If you don't know that you have a disease, you will not even try to come out of it, right? So then you will waste all the time you have and do things which are ultimately so useless and which will never solve the problem that you have. It's like there's a fire here, but you think it is here, and you buy a lot of water and you continuously pour it here. You take a bucket of water and you throw it here. And then again, tomorrow you buy a bucket of water and you throw it here. And that's what you do all your life. So how much percent, what's the efficiency of doing that? 0%. It's totally useless. You haven't done anything about the real problem, but you have just did a lot of activity to buy water and thrown it to the wrong place. Nothing has happened. Nothing has improved. Meanwhile, this virus here, this fire has grown and grown and grown by the day, and it's going to haunt us. And this is what haunts you, and this is what haunts you in your life. This fire. This one thing is haunting you. So you might as well start now, as soon as you can, and don't waste any time on trying to get out of this problem, because this is what's going to determine everything about life. The one thing in your mind. So there's a smart way to solve this problem, and it starts with becoming good, and it starts with doing merits, so it's ping and kusala. In Sinhala we call it like that. It's merits as well as understanding the Dhamma. These two parts you have to do to come out of this problem. But these ones you should do. Everything else in life is a waste of time. At the end of the day, some of the things you have to do, duties and responsibilities, do it please. Do it fully, because otherwise you will get into more trouble. And use it as opportunities as well to do good to others and to share and to help others as well, because the people around you are also like that. So this is the problem we have to teach the child, that it has to come out. If it doesn't know about this problem, it will never know it has this problem. It will go on and having relationships and friendships and dreams and hopes and projects. It will travel around the whole world, maybe to the moon, maybe to the Mars, but ultimately it will die with unfinished business. Unfinished business means the moment that it dies, still it has not found happiness, still it is not happy, still it is looking for more, then what do you think will happen after this life? If there's a mind, there's a saying, right? If there's a will, there's a way. And it is more true than anything when it comes to the mind. If the mind wants something, it will not stop at anything to make it happen, right? That's why, if this mind dies with a will, it will find a way to make another body happen. Right? If this mind dies with vexation, with something it wants, it will make sure that another life will be given, another chance. We will not, because the mind is the most powerful thing in the world. We'll go to the deeper reasons why I'm saying these things sometime later in the sermon. But I want to give you a kind of an idea about why this rebirth happens and why it doesn't happen for an arahant, for example. The thing is this: when you want something, when your mind wants something, can you stop? Where does the mind stop from trying to finish this business that it wants to finish? It never stops. It will go all the way to make sure that whatever it wants will be fulfilled. Since the mind is like an energy magnet, this one thing is like a magnet. it can accumulate, it can attract energy. So the reason why this body has formed is because of a magnetic force, we could say, which springs out of this cause, which is wanting. That wanting is not the wanting you have right now. This is the wanting that was there the time of the birth. Even an arahant, the time he's born, he has wanting, right? Otherwise he wouldn't be born. An arahant is someone who's made while he is born, while he is alive, having this condition of wanting, but then coming out of this. In other words, when then an arahant dies, that means it's a mind that dies, it has no more business to finish. Every bill has been paid, there's nothing more to fulfill, nothing more to accomplish, no project that still couldn't be done, right? Therefore, it will die without wanting. I had this great example from one of my relatives. There was a person who told me, this was a woman, and she had studied at university and wanted to become a teacher at school. But as it happened, especially for the generation of my parents, or this generation, what happens sometimes is the woman, while doing her degree, university degree, sometimes maybe she will become pregnant, and because usually, maybe today in Germany people marry when they already finished their degrees, much later with 30, but it used to be different. It used to be much earlier. So at that times, it can happen that the women started to have their first child even while they were in university. So what happened for this person was that the first child was born, the family was there, and then this woman decided to not finish the university degree, right? Then this woman had to be, you can't call yourself a master of science, but you are just a bachelor of science, or you just have a high school degree. So all her life she lived only with this minor degree. So can you imagine how that feels like? When you go to work in a company, they will always ask you, what's your degree? And you will say, yeah, I have a high school degree. And then you see others around you who have graduated a master degree. Sometimes maybe you have all the same knowledge, but you can't prove it. You have the knowledge, but you can't show anyone a paper for that. So then, do you think people will really respect you? No, they will not. Do you think you will get the money that others get? No, you will not. So people will always treat you like somebody who has only a high school degree, not as somebody who has actually a university degree, right? Imagine you have written a PhD, but you lost the paper. Now, all these 5 years, you can say, I have a PhD, but people will not feel like that. So, anyways, this was her life. Now she's going towards the end of her life. And that person always told me, if I could live this life again, there's one big mistake that I did. This mistake was, when I was in my 20s, I stopped finishing my masters, and I had a family. I mean, okay, having a family is not the problem, but I stopped finishing my masters. And this has haunted me all my life. This is why I could never be happy, fully happy. This is what brought me so many problems. So, that's why mothers usually teach their children things that they should not do, the mistakes that they have done. For example, or the same happens with the fathers. Sometimes the fathers will say, become an engineer, because I could never become an engineer, but don't do the same mistake that I did. And then sometimes we as parents, we feel that by seeing the children achieve what we have never achieved, we can get rid of the void that we feel as well, right? Yeah, so that's a very common pattern, right? Parents try to get rid of this unfulfillment within them by seeing their children do something that they have never been able to do, and by seeing them achieve that, then they hope to fill their void as well. Right? Happens many times. So, you see, if you were to ask such a person, such a mind, who has unfortunately yet to come to the Dhamma, the Dhamma has not been realized. This is a mind who doesn't know about pleasure and vexation and about these deeper concepts. Therefore, if this person were to die, this woman were to die, don't you think that this woman dies with unfinished business? Yes. If I could live this life again, and I would like to do it, and I would like to do these things differently, and I hope that by doing these things, I could finally find happiness and peace. Next time I will finish my degree and I will not do any compromises. Not for another man, not for a society. I will do it because I saw the suffering it brings of doing the compromise. This time I will not do that. This is to get rid of this void. That's why when you die with unfinished business, the mind will want to continue living, finally to finish the business that it has. But the thing is this, business never finishes. Even if that woman has the merits to get the chance to be born and live this life the way she has in her mind, even getting what you want will only give you release of vexation, not happiness. In other words, even if you can finish your degree and have the job whenever you want, you don't get any satisfaction out of this, only release of vexation. So in other words, even that will get boring to you after a while. Right? Because vexation is still happening. You haven't gotten rid of this problem of wanting. So therefore, it's like an endless journey. That's not going to be the solution. So the only solution is to get rid of this wanting in our mind, right? And for that, you are all doing something by coming here. You are trying to contemplate on these things. You're trying to apply these things. You're engaging in meritorious deeds. You're trying to change and work on your mind. Most people don't work on their mind, they work on the world out there. Right? Spending time to buy clothes, which is something we have to do, I understand. For the duties that we have to buy clothes, of course. If we have a job, it's important to be presentable, and for that we should do it. Still, it will waste a lot of our time, unfortunately, right? Because that time, I don't have to do that. I don't have to go through how many shirts do I have, are they all washed, are they all ironed, and is there a stain somewhere, and I have to work to maybe clean that, or maybe I have to pay someone to clean that. So this takes a lot of time, in which we could have spent that time for our salvation. In other words, to get rid of this virus in our mind. Right? So, it is not impossible to solve this problem while being in a lay life, but sometimes there are obstacles. Right? Many people are tagging on you, they push you in certain ways, they expect things from you, and you can't always say no. But you need to be really managing your time really well, not to get lost in running after fulfilling other people's expectations, because you can do that forever. And still they will want more of you. And still you have this problem at home. So don't forget that if you don't try and work on this, yes, you can help many people do many things, but their problems will never stop, and you can't help them solve their real problem, as well as you will lose time for helping yourself and others more on a deeper level. So therefore, please, whoever you come across in your family, in your friends, you need to realize the real problem that they have is not the one that they have, that they think they have. They will come to you and talk to you about the problem they feel. The problem that they feel is, I don't have something. It could be, my parents don't care about me. It could be what happened at job, at the work. It could be all sorts of things. This is the problem they think they have. But the real problem they have is the problem in their mind, the one thing that keeps happening. The fact that their mind doesn't let them to be okay with life. But actually, life could be okay. But they are not doing anything to solve this problem. They're trying always to release the vexation, which will be an endless journey. So if you really love them, can you turn a blind eye to this and say, well, let them do it? Because when you see them do it, you will know. Sometimes you might not be able to say anything. Okay, I get that. You can't go around and preach to everyone, get rid of your wanting, because that's not the way it works. Right? Sometimes you can encourage people to do merits. That might be the best way to start encouraging others. But at least in your mind, you should start slowly to see what is really the real problem we have. And if you see that, then you should encourage yourself and others to work on this and not to work on continuing the way of living that we do and just suppressing our real problem. Because we waste our time, our precious human time, doing nonsense things, because we don't get any real output out of this. It's just not to feel pain at this moment. You can release the vexation. Now, this is what releases vexation. So for your children, you need to recognize, okay, you should give them care. That is what your duty is. You should give them love. Whether they want it or not, you should give it. But if they want care, then they have to someday understand that this wanting for care is something that makes them a slave. It will make them a slave to their future husband, to their future wife. It makes them a slave right now. It makes them, it is the problem they have. How can they get out of this problem? Encourage them to do merits. Encourage them for them to be a good person and have the right manners, have the right habits, and cultivating good qualities. That should be the main base. From there on, someday, this mind will be able to understand the Dhamma as well. Right? Because without goodness, you can't understand any of the Dhamma. These are only the basics of the Dhamma. You know, the Dhamma goes much deeper, but I want you to take you on this journey. I don't want to overwhelm you with theories. I want you to actually understand this deeply. This is not complicated, but really, really, really see this within you, within others, and then do something about it. Because other people around you will not do anything about it. They think everything is great and they will live this life, but when they die, they still have this wanting, and then they will continue to look for this, finishing this business in ways that they know. And the ways that they know are, unfortunately, tend to bring them, to make them go down and down and down, right? So, I always feel like this, we don't go from human to an ant in the blink of one life, right? It's not like human one life and then ant next life. I personally don't feel like this is how it works. I think it's something more like this. It happens over hundreds of thousands of years, right? Because I'll give you an idea like this. So, today, life gives you choices, right? Certain choices you have today. What are the choices you have today? If I were to say, you would like to drink coffee, what are the choices that you have now? You can go home and you can cook yourself a coffee in your apartment. So maybe you can go to the supermarket and then there will be some few brands that you can buy, and then you can do it at home. That's one choice you have at the moment. But maybe in this supermarket, maybe you will have 5 brands. Maybe in the USA, maybe in California, somewhere, you have 27 brands. But you don't have these brands here. So do you have all the choices that a person has in California? No. Sometimes maybe around here there might be some stores where you can drink also coffee, where there's a really talented person who can brew really good coffee, right? So you have certain choices. Among them you have to choose to get rid of your wanting, right? That's based on the merits that you have, right? Same like to come out of this problem of vexation, you have the choice to come to a Dhamma sermon. Not everyone has that choice. That's a really lucky choice, right? For that, you had to do a lot of merits. We all had to do a lot of merits to associate such kind of wisdom. However, what I want to say is that the choices you have today is because of the merits you have done in the past. But tomorrow, you might not have the same choices as today, right? Maybe tomorrow, over the course of next few years, there will be an economical crisis, and then when you want to drink a coffee, and if you still have the wanting for coffee, now you go to the supermarket and maybe there will be only 2 brands instead of 5, okay? Now you have less choices than before. So what's your choice to do? Now you still want coffee, right? Because you have never solved this problem of wanting. So it's still there with you, you want it. But the choices now are limited. Before that you had 5 choices, now you have only 2. And the coffee that you always like to drink most, your most favorite brand, is no longer there. So now what choices do you have? Either you take the best one, the best that you can get, or you take none at all and you go home and think to yourself, okay, maybe tomorrow they'll have it again. Maybe tomorrow they'll have the one that I like most again. These are the choices you have, right? Good. So either you will settle with the second best thing, or you will go home saying, maybe tomorrow I'll get what I want most. So you come back tomorrow and still they don't have. And you come back the other day and the next day and still they don't have. How many times can you go home and saying to yourself, tomorrow they will have it? There will be a day when you will say, okay, enough is enough. Now I will take whatever is there, since I can no longer bear this vexation, right? I can no longer bear it. That's why I say, I'm putting it really simple, I'm making it really clear to you all and to me as well, mistakes this game, like the seriousness of this problem. Today, if today a man has lustful feelings, to come out of this vexation, he can find himself a girlfriend, and he has certain choices, right? Depending on his merits, he has certain choices. And that helps him to release his vexation. Good. But when he dies, if you no longer have the choice to release that vexation with a human, but the only choices you have is, let's say, a dog or a cow, so what will happen? Then the mind will go for one of the two. No, of course, no mind likes to make this, to go down like this. You know, if no longer you can drink coffee, if your favorite coffee brand is no longer there, at the first you will complain, you will say, okay, no, I like this, now I can't have it. So you will go and settle with something else. I remember in the times when I did share this story already, I'm not sure. In Europe, we had capitalism and communism. And in the communistic times, before the 1990s, when some of the people in Europe used to live in this communistic regimes, sometimes the supply of coffee and bananas and other resources was very limited, because these things have to be imported from South America, right? We don't produce coffee and bananas in Europe. But people in Europe like to drink a lot of coffee. So for example, what happened in these countries, in East Germany and in Poland and other countries, if there's no coffee, because of an economic crisis, people started to roast maybe nuts. I don't know, I just imagine this is what happens. They started to roast nuts, so then you have roasted powder, and you can fill it with water and you can drink that. This is just the closest to what you can get. Normally we'll say, oh my God, who would do that? That's not right. Because we have the supply. We can always drink coffee, but if you have no other choice, you have to settle with that, right? And at the beginning it will be strange, but after a while you get used to it. And that's what you become, that's what you are. Similarly, if we don't solve this problem, first, if nature takes away this gift of choice, which is human choices, if the moment nature, today, every day, nature gives you these choices. It gives you the choice, human choices. To solve your vexation, you can have human solutions. But this is a gift. Once that gift no longer happens, you might have only the best choices you get from nature is the choices a dog can do, which is, if you have lustful feelings, you can have a female dog or a male dog to release that, or maybe as a cow, and then you have to settle with one of the two. And then the mind settles with one of them. And of course, after a while, 50 years, actually really quickly, once the body has been formed, the body acts like a shield. All the memories from the past can no longer be drawn, and the mind has completely forgotten that it has ever been anything else than what it is. Have you ever remembered that you were a cow or something in your past? No, I have never done that, because the body and is kind of shielding all these memories can no longer easily come to us, right? So therefore we have grown up and we think, no, I am human, I am like this, and that's it. I was born and now I am here. And of course the same happens to all the animals as well. So in other words, I imagine it's something like this. First, you go through being a dog for many thousands of years. But meanwhile you do that, as a dog you cannot solve this problem of wanting. All that dogs do is, if they want something, they get it, their vexation is released, and then they feel pleasure for a moment, and then tomorrow they want it again, and then to go after it again, and that's how it continues. And again and again and again. right? And there's no end to this. And when they die, can they die with finished business? No. Therefore, I imagine it's like little by little this degradation happens. So today we feel, me and an ant, such a difference. But actually if you look at an ant, it is doing the same thing that we as humans are doing. The same things. An ant maybe feels a sense of community. So if I can be with my group, it feels pleasure. It doesn't like to be alone. So we also feel like that. This is the same. This is part of the same wanting we have. Right? So the wanting was never addressed, and then whatever the choices that we get to release our vexation are based on what we have given. Right? And since we have all, in this journey of samsara, mostly given, it's easy for us to do bad, right? It's not easy for us to do good because of this innate vexation. The tendency is to do bad. Therefore, the choices we have is always related to that. Right? So that means we need to realize the choices we can make today are very precious, and we can't take them for granted. And if we don't make use of the choices we have today to come out of the real problem, then in the future we'll have to pay the price for that. And most humans don't realize that. I'm not saying you have to believe me that there's a life after this. Me myself, I was also very critical most of my life that such thing can exist. Right? So, true. I cannot rule out, definitely I can't rule out that such thing might happen. I know definitely from understanding this mind that if you don't solve this one thing, you will die with an unfulfilled mind. That in itself is not what I want for myself. Do you want it for yourself? No. And the more you go after releasing your vexation, you don't do anything to actually achieve satisfaction in your life. You only get these cheap, momentary bursts of pleasure, which make you feel everything is good in that moment, but far away from the truth, actually, far away. Right? So if you want to have satisfaction in your life, there's something else you should do. And you can do, and it's not something out of the ordinary. You can do it little by little, step by step. Greatness will be achieved. So, but most people don't do that. That's what you need to realize. Most people around you, I'm sorry to say this, completely waste their lives. Unknowingly. So your duty is to help them realize someday at least, little by little, what they should be doing with their lives. So you don't always have to give them a sermon. Sometimes they will say you need to be really tactful to understand how you have to talk to them. Sometimes, recently we had a German student, a young man coming to our monastery, and he was really inspired and motivated from learning these concepts. And he came home and he wanted to share this with everyone because it was actually a message of liberation, right? It was an answer, and there was a way to find real happiness. He wanted to share this with others. But sometimes when he tried to explain this to others, they didn't want to even listen to him because they didn't want to accept, or even they were not even open to think about whether it might be true that all the things, the real problem is not what they think it is. So not always people will be open to it. I know people in my life who, if I would start talking about these things, they would not be open to listen to me. And that's unfortunate, because they prevent themselves from their own happiness. It is actually because of some kind of, we could say, it's because of our ego, we shall say, right? It's because of our ego. We don't like to listen to people when they tell us things, because our mind always likes to be the one who knows. Right? If to be wrong is something we can't easily accept. If to realize that that what we have done with our life, I mean, isn't that really hard? Imagine somebody comes to you and tells you, everything you have done in your life today, until today, was an utter waste of time. Is that easy to accept? No. Especially if what we are doing feels so good and feels so important to us. We would never accept that. Right? So it takes a tremendous amount of openness, humbleness, you need to be able to be self-critical. It is really not easy, right? Because to accept criticism from others as well, how easy is that? It's so hard. But we have to learn this. We need to have this quality within us, that if others show us something that we can improve, we need to be grateful for this, and we need to express that gratefulness. We need to say, thank you for showing this to me. Thank you for pointing out this flaw. I will try to change it. Right? It will hurt in this moment. The moment that we have to face it, it will hurt. It's hurting because of this wanting nature that happens within us. But if we can be the better man in this moment, we can grow out of what we are today to become somebody who's much more than what we are today. Because you and me, you all have this potential. Maybe nobody has ever shown you this. Because people will naturally reduce you to how you serve them. People will always tell you, you are a really good co-worker, because that way they can make sure that you continue doing that work for them, because that's what they need from you. You are a really good mother, that's what they will also tell you. Or father. Because that's what how they can make use of you. But the Buddha, he wants to make us more than just a mother or a father. Yes. I mean, mother and father, yes, you don't have to change your lives the way you live, but in your mind you can become a mother and a father to everyone. In your mind you can have, the whole world can be with you. You can have a limitless loving kindness by coming out of these little roles that society has defined us. That doesn't mean to change the way we live, just to change the way we think. Right? Changing the way we think. So, this is something I want for you to happen. To realize that you can be more by, I forgot how. And it starts with this. To take responsibility, you can be who you have been until today. You don't have to be that tomorrow. And how you can achieve that is take the people around you, see them, and take responsibility to serve them. Okay? Just like the determination which I talked about at the beginning in Anuradhapura. It's like, look at them And recently, my teacher in one of his sermons, he said, I can't remember exactly what he said. Anyway, so the mentality is like that. You see them and you want for them to be happy, really happy. Real happiness means, of course, fulfillment, contentment. So if you go the extra mile for them to go towards that goal, sometimes it might be to encourage them to do a merit. Sometimes you give them an advice. And it all starts with yourself. By recognizing the faults you have and trying to overcome them, seeing the defilements that you have as well, will help a lot as well. If you go on this journey of self-improvement, you will see how the whole harmony around you will change. And that's a great blessing you can give to your environment, to your family, to your workplace. A great blessing. And you can bring them along, some of them, at least in some way. Sometimes it's just saying thank you. By recognizing the incredible effort people around you take for you to have the life that you have. You see the effort that people take at work. I mean, as I said, we like to take things for granted. But if you see the things that people do, and you can appreciate that, then that will make their day much more better. It will make their whole life much more better. And then you will grow out of from what you have been so far to actually a person whose heart grows and grows. Right? It starts with this understanding that we all have this problem of wanting, and let us do something about this. But the things that we always do, which is just to release this vexation, that's not how it's going to happen. And I don't want for anyone, for any mind, the destiny that waits, and the path that is planned for us. If we just walk into the pit blindly, the way that most people do. Most people are blind because they don't know what happens within them and how it continues. So this man, ultimately, who had been given the flowers, he gave others the chance to do merits, but that's not a merit in itself. Because he did that only to get some money to release his vexations. Right? Because he needs money a lot just to solve his problems. So he doesn't earn merits just by giving flowers to visitors. So he might spend 10 years there, has sold many flowers, but who knows how much merits he has gained from doing that. Unfortunately. So isn't that a waste of life? It's good, and we deserve to be thankful for him because he gave others a chance to do a merit. So we can transfer our merits to him. But that's only, when you pass your merit. Imagine this man dies and now he's born as a preta because his mentality is such a one. We can come here and we can share the merits to him, and that means we help him to access merits that he once did, right? Because transferring the merits works something like this. I don't want to open another box like that. It's not complicated, but something like that. If whatever the merits he has done someday, by transferring the merits, we can create an environment where he can access them, right? It's something like that. So that's what we can do. But if he would have done merits, at least he could have maybe be born in a better place. someday understand what's the real problem that he is solving, because that's not what he did. So unfortunately, when I walk around, I see that too many wasted lives, not just here, but all over the world. So stopping to waste our lives starts with, first of all, fulfilling our duties and responsibilities, seeing where we can improve, seeing how we can make others understand, encourage others to do merits for the sake of Nibbāna, and then making them understand and making ourselves understand what's the real problem and how to solve it. So in here we will talk about the real problem every week, in various ways, in various angles, understanding how to come out of this as well. Right? The problem of wanting, which we never solve, but we only suppress. So then the loving kindness, because if your mind has no wantings, the loving kindness will be automatically there to everyone, right? If you don't wish to see a person like this, seeing another will also be okay for you. You will accept anything that you'll see, right? But if you have a preference to the person you would like to see, now you will be disappointed to see certain others, right? So likewise, practicing loving kindness, thinking about a person and sending your loving kindness to this person, and then you go to another person and you send your loving kindness to this person. This is the traditional, conventional loving kindness meditation you might have come across in society. You can do that for a year or 2 years, but still the results will be very limited compared to if you can find the escape from getting rid of this wanting, right? If you can, and this is not something, as I said, wanting is not something you can get rid of by force. It stops happening within you as you realize, as you start to grasp these things. Nothing more. These things will go away. For that you need to do merits, and we need to come here and be alert and contemplate as I am talking, and things will come, make sense. And whatever you learn, you should apply this during the course of the week as well, as much as you can do. When you see people around you, think about why are they doing what they're doing? Isn't it to release a vexation? And is it going to solve their real problem? And what's the point of doing that? Is this the problem we should solve, or isn't the real problem we should solve another one? So then your mind will always be in compassion with others. You will wish their mind to be free from vexation. And you will try to encourage others to do merits. It doesn't have to be merits as in something we call Buddhistic. Every religion has its merits. Christians go to the church on Sundays. It's a merit. Maybe Buddhists will conduct a Buddha Puja. These are merits. But merit can simply mean you hold open the door to someone at work. It's a merit. That's not something Buddhistic or Christian. It doesn't matter. Anything you do because of loving kindness, because of care for others, with patience, humbleness, realizing the value of these, being a patient person, being grateful, practicing gratefulness. These are the things which help to make other minds pleasant and help them come out of this constant negativity and vexation, and then only the root of Dhamma, the seed of Dhamma can take root in their minds. Right? So once you do this, your life has then already changed by a big amount. So that's what happened to me over the years, even when I was in Germany. I used every opportunity to do merits wherever I could find. And whenever, even, picking up litter from the street, picking up some plastic that people throw on the street from maybe some kind of snack or like a chocolate bar, you can pick it up. And you can think to yourself, by removing this dirtiness from the street, by cleaning this dirtiness from the street, may my mind, may others' minds also be cleaned from the dirt, which is the dirt of defilements, the dirt of this baggage of Raga, Desha, Moha. This will be a great merit for you. Okay. Try to do that as much as you can. And as I said last week, whoever, if you feel that there's a change happening within you, if it is at least a tiny change, go and you see that this actually is the route that can take me out of suffering. Encourage to bring others along. By coming here, could be one way, or by any other way, to understand where the problem is and how to come out of this. Then you will gain a lot of merits, right? And because then your life is not just about making yourself happy, but your life is, as I said, to be somebody who is of service, whoever needs you, whoever the mind around you that's suffering, you can be of service to release that suffering. If you start thinking in this way, nature will start working with you. Because if you are asking from nature, nature will start to deny, little by little. Because now you are going against nature. But if you are here to give, nature will recognize that and nature will give you more and more opportunities to do that. And by giving, by serving, you serve yourself. This is how it works. It might sound cliche, but actually in practice it's a very, very difficult sometimes, but very fulfilling thing. So we all come here together with that aim. You come here with that aim. And I hope by being here you achieve at least a sense of calmness and purpose. And yesterday when we did the Buddha Puja to these villages, even the Buddha Puja alone, I felt like it had so much effect on them. Because changing their environment from what they used to do, all these things, the worries that come into their minds and all these family issues, job issues and so on, simply that itself was great, but here we want to do more than that even. Here we want to engage in merit, come together, inspire each other, learn from each other, and go along this path, which we call the noble path. So, that's it for today, and let us take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired today by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, by making various offerings today, and by providing and caring for the Swami Mahamsa, by listening to the sermon, by contemplating on the sermon, by thinking about how to improve our mindset and help others free themselves from suffering. First and foremost, let us transfer these merits to all those to all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasikas and upasakas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha, in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand, and comprehend the Dhamma. There's also translated these merits to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives towards the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. There's also translated these merits. Let us also not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side, if you can think, come rain or shine. So also translate these merits to Buddhist Swami Mahansa, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarika and Anagarika attached to the monastery. Let's also translate these merits and express our gratitude to all those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be it by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. If any of them have been born in a woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in a blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, robes, and medicines, as well as those who continue to extend their well wishes and share their know-how. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to everyone who is involved in making this event possible, the organizers of the school and the staff who is involved, and everyone who's taking time and taking an effort to serve and contribute to this event, even by a mere thought or by actions. May, through the power of these merits, they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us and supported us and assisted us in every way they could. And let's also transfer these merits to our teachers. May through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambhadhisasana. Let's also transfer these merits to our guardian deities, who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our ancestors, all those who have predeceased us, all those who have been families and friends to us in this infinitely long journey in samsara. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we have acquired today. Let's also transfer these merits to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been family and friends to us in this infinite long journey in samsara. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let us all resolve that may, through the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahants in this blessed land. And finally, let us all resolve that may, through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped to make this program a success, become Arat Arahante, Arahat Mahimnante in this very life itself. And in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha, it says, sound.